The tension inside the Capitol hearing room was so thick that even the air seemed to vibrate with anticipation. Journalists filled every seat along the back wall, their cameras trained on the witness table, waiting for the moment that had quietly been whispered about all week. Congressman Jonathan Kennedy, a rising figure known for his moral conviction and refusal to bend under pressure, took his seat beneath the bright white lights. He looked calm on the surface, but to those who watched him closely, there was something deeper in his expression, something resolute, something heavy, as if he had already made peace with whatever storm might follow. Today was not going to be routine. Everyone could feel it. Across the room, Speaker Nancy Pelosi observed the young congressman with the sharp focus of someone who had weathered hundreds of hearings and conflicts over her decades-long career. She understood political tension better than most, and she sensed that Kennedy's presence today carried an emotional charge that could easily spill over if not kept in check. The hearing had been designed to stay tightly on script, with pre-approved talking points and controlled commentary, but from the moment Kennedy positioned his notes to the side rather than in front of him, Pelosi's instincts told her the conversation was about to drift into dangerous territory. Kennedy began speaking in a slow, measured voice. At first, he followed the boundaries set in the committee briefing, but within minutes he veered off course, turning his remarks toward a series of uncomfortable truths that leadership on both sides had tiptoed around for months. The words were not spoken with anger or theatrics, they came from a place of deep sincerity and moral discomfort. He spoke about the families who had written to him, the workers who felt voiceless, the small-town communities that felt abandoned by Washington. His tone wavered not from fear but from emotional urgency, the kind that comes from carrying other people's burdens on your own conscience. A quiet ripple passed through the room. Some members shifted uneasily in their seats, others leaned forward, intrigued. Pelosi exchanged a tense glance with an aide standing at her side. No one expected the young congressman to challenge the boundaries so boldly, and certainly not in a hearing broadcast live to millions of viewers. Then, with a barely noticeable movement of her hand, Pelosi signaled to staff. Within seconds, Kennedy's microphone emitted a sudden crackle. His voice sputtered, dipped, and faded beneath the wall of static. Viewers watching the live stream blinked in confusion, unsure whether it was a glitch or something more intentional. Staffers pretended to troubleshoot equipment, but the timing was impossible to ignore. Kennedy stopped mid-sentence. Shock crossed his face, not anger, not defiance, but something quieter, almost sad, like someone who had expected resistance but hoped he was wrong. The room buzzed softly with whispers. Some lawmakers looked away, embarrassed. Others stared directly at him, waiting to see how he would respond. And then he did something no one could have anticipated. Kennedy stepped away from the malfunctioning microphone, planted both feet firmly on the floor, and spoke loudly enough for the entire room to hear even without amplification. His voice, though unamplified, filled the chamber with steady conviction. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. The room fell absolutely silent. The words, ancient and familiar to millions across the country, carried far more force than any prepared statement ever could. Even those who weren't religious felt the weight of the moment wash over them. It wasn't defiance, it wasn't rebellion, it was a quiet reminder of inner strength, spoken not as a threat but as an affirmation of hope and resilience. Pelosi froze, her earlier instruction echoing awkwardly in the silence that followed. Her aides lowered their hands. Technicians backed away from the microphone that suddenly, and almost suspiciously, flickered back to life. The emotional temperature of the room shifted. Even those who disagreed with Kennedy's politics found themselves moved by the humanity of the moment. Kennedy continued speaking calmly, respectfully, unwaveringly. In this chamber, he said through the new functioning microphone, we carry the responsibility of representing people who do not have a microphone of their own. Silencing a voice doesn't erase the truth behind it. Our disagreements are real, but so is our duty to listen. Some members nodded, others looked down, absorbing the weight of his words, but no one interrupted. Within hours, Clips of the moment flooded social media. Commentators replayed the scene in slow motion. Church groups discussed the quote during midweek gatherings. Families who had grown cynical about politics found themselves unexpectedly emotional as they watched a young leader hold his ground not with anger, but with grace. Even his critics admitted privately that the composure he displayed had been disarming. The moment became more than political drama, it became a symbol. People across the country felt seen, heard, and represented in a way they didn't often experience in national politics. They saw not just a congressman confronting a powerful figure, but an ordinary person standing up to forces bigger than himself and choosing dignity over outrage. As the Capitol lights dimmed that night, one truth had already spread far beyond the walls of Congress: courage doesn't always shout. Sometimes it stands steady in a fading microphone and speaks hope into the silence.